Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webcast to discuss the latest opportunity to grow your business by partnering with Veeam. My name is Don Grease. I am the Manager of Business Development and Vendor Programs here at Lifeboat Distribution, and we are going to have an interesting conversation today with Veeam about the new Veeam Backup and Replication Cloud Edition and how you can leverage Veeam's cloud offering to increase your footprint in existing accounts and to uncover yet new opportunities. Joining me today from Veeam is Rick Vanover. Rick is a vExpert, MCITP and VCP, and a product strategy specialist for Veeam Software. And Rick is based in Columbus, Ohio. Welcome, Rick.
Thanks, Don. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you all the attendees as well for carving time out of your busy day.
Okay, so we are really lucky to have just the right person to answer all our questions about Veeam Cloud Edition and to guide us in finding continued success with Veeam by adding the latest offering to our solution portfolios. So I know everyone's time is valuable. Before we begin, though, I just want you to know that we do encourage you to ask questions, and you may do that by entering your questions in the Q&A panel on the right-hand side of the screen. At the conclusion of the presentation, we will answer as many questions as time permits. We are also going to be popping up some polling questions along the way, so please do your best and try to answer as many of those questions as you can. And remember, we are also going to give away a $100 Amex gift card to one lucky attendee before we sign off. So let's get started. So Rick, actually, I just wanted to offer you some background and perspective at the start here. You know, Lifeboat and Veeam go back a long way. We actually began our partnership in 2007, and today Lifeboat Distribution has a really large and dedicated community of Veeam resellers. So with all that history, our resellers are really knowledgeable when it comes to selling and working with Veeam, but we just need to get our arms around selling and working with Veeam Cloud Edition, and I know you're going to help us with that today. So the first question that I'd like to ask you about is, to get us started, if you wouldn't mind, please talk to us about the kind of evolution of Veeam Backup and Replication in the marketplace, how the product has advanced over time to become such a prolific solution for backup and replication for virtualization, and what the impact is to customers to now be able to take their backups to the cloud.
Well, at the high level, it's really the evolution of what we are calling modern data protection. And, you know, cloud edition, and generally speaking, cloud technologies. Cloud technologies mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And, you know, when we released this on the 11th of February of this year, I believe, our real objective was really to give you that extra option, you know, for the end users. This is targeted as an end user solution, and you as a joint Veeam and Lifeboat partner can provide this additional option for your clients to get backups off-site, right? So that's the challenge, right? And what's the modern solution to do that? So those of you keeping the pulse on Veeam also know we have announced tape support. While that's not exactly modern, it is very much still an option, but Cloud Edition, or Cloud Storage Gateway as it is generically referred to as, this is a great option to really put your backups on a public storage cloud. Now, for those of you who may have professional service practices around things like OpenStack, you actually have some options there also. So it doesn't have to just be Amazon or Azure Blob Storage. You can also build solutions around maybe an OpenStack offering that you have, or at least maybe that you set up for your clients. So the real objective that we have here is to solve a problem of getting backups off-site, and cloud storage options is one way of addressing that, and that could be you know, a modern way to go about that. So at the high level, Don, that's really, you know, the objective of what this edition solves for our clients.
Okay, that helps a lot. Now, I want to take advantage of your expertise for a minute here. So for someone like me, Rick, who is not an expert in virtualization or disaster recovery, why is it so important for companies to employ off-site storage?
Well, there's a lot of disciplines in place, and this graphic explains it well. But for one, you could have a site issue, right? Our daily disasters are user-related, right? Somebody deletes a file, deletes a virtual machine, causes an application issue. But what if the problem's bigger than that? What if it's a site issue? I lost my SAN, I lost my virtual environment, theft, fire, disaster, whatever, right? And then the abstraction really needs to think about location, and so that's where the off-site option comes into play. It could be as simple as putting my Veeam backups into a public storage cloud. It could be as simple as replication. Now, it's important to note that Veeam Cloud Edition also includes all the other features that you've been selling with Veeam through the years. So you know that there's on-site backups, there's instant VM recovery, there's off-site replication. All of that is still there. So if you would think about an approach of offering many layers of protection to your clients, Cloud Edition could be one of those layers that you offer. And there are different sales practices associated with Cloud Edition, which we'll talk about differently in a second. But by no means, if you've already sold a client Veeam, is your conversation done. Here's an option for an upsell. And then secondly, not to kind of spook people out of potential issues, but again, cloud means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Maybe this is the natural choice to really experiment with cloud technologies, and then on top of that, cloud storage specifically for off-site data protection. So there's a lot of options, a lot of ways to draw it up, and some professional services to kind of go along with that upsell if you want to engage with your partners in that fashion.
All right, well, the potential there sounds tremendous. Let me ask you this. What are the typical barriers to a customer or a company employing off-site storage of backups? What do you run into?
Well, the simplest example is maybe the client only has one site, so the off-site can't be on their own ground, okay? So in the instance of an organization that has one quote-unquote data center, they might have multiple locations, but maybe no data center, and they don't want to invest in another data center, of course. How do you get that data protection strategy to include off-site? Maybe I don't like sending tapes to one of the popular organizations that'll come pick them up and then store them in the vault and then ideally hopefully bring them back to me, right? Maybe that's a practice I'm doing and I don't like. This approach can solve that problem for those people who want to get off-site backups easily. Now, complexity and costs come into play, and our approach, which I'll show you in a bit, really brings everything we've always done with Veeam to this offering. Powerful, easy to use, and affordable. Now, don't let the affordable scare you from the joint Lifeboat Veeam partner side. It has to be something that's easy for you to quote, easy for you to sell, easy for our customers to implement, and then at the end of the day, the solution just needs to work. So on top of that, we've taken an approach much like we have with everything else, storage agnostic. We've used that term to explain, simply put, we work with anything that VMware vSphere and Microsoft Hyper-V can work with. Same goes for our cloud approach. We support 19 different cloud storage engines. 2 of the household names are there, Amazon and Azure, as well as a long list that I'll show you elsewhere. But cloud storage is a different beast. It's not, nobody measures IOPS on cloud storage. Nobody has direct access. Nobody has control over it, right? We have to manage it. I can't walk into the data center and turn off the public cloud. So it's a different approach. But we really have simplified that for a lot of people. We don't have to get down in the weeds with different APIs. We don't have to learn complicated approaches, because cloud storage is different. I'm not saying there isn't technology behind it. In fact, I'd say there's a lot of technology behind it, but we're making it easy to use for the Veeam customer.
Excellent. That sounds great. So with that backdrop, please break down for us, Rick, the features of Veeam Cloud Edition that are unique, of great benefit to customers, and differentiators from other cloud-based storage services?
Well, this screen kind of shows it of what people are going to need if they make that decision to go to a cloud storage technology, specifically for data protection. So the very first thing in the top left, encryption. We have to be able to send things to a public cloud storage resource encrypted. So the Cloud Storage Gateway component that Veeam Backup and Replication Cloud Edition has a configurable encryption engine. So it goes up to 256-bit encryption, which is a standard approach to encrypting, and then it's decrypted and encrypted only locally. So we don't actually leverage any encryption in the cloud. So that's an important note. A lot of cloud storage approaches will encrypt in the cloud, which means they can decrypt in the cloud. So we actually encrypt locally, then send to the cloud. And then when we retrieve, we decrypt. So that's a kind of a nice measure right there for the, the moment you need to bring this to, a security team, then they're going to ask this question. That's the first thing. A couple other features. I mentioned that cloud agnostic, right? We have to give people choices. And that's very important today because, especially across different geographies, if you, your client might be based here in the U.S., but they may have locations around the world. Well, maybe a different storage, cloud storage option works better for them in that location. Not a problem. Same thing with bandwidth, right? I like to take the approach that, getting the money for storage is the hard part. Same thing with bandwidth. Getting bandwidth isn't tough. Getting the money for bandwidth, that's tough. So it's kind of the new bottleneck, right? When we think about data center technologies, we're always looking at storage, networking, compute, memory. Then after we fix one, then we look back at the other, and then we look back at the other, and hey, that's great for sales cycles, right? Every quarter, I'm always fixing something. But bandwidth might be a little bit harder to fix, right? It's not a part number. It's a monthly bill, and I had to explain it once to someone new to the space, and I said it's kind of like buying a diamond. Just because it's twice the size doesn't mean it's twice the price. Bandwidth is a lot like that. So, we have to take a very cautious approach. And in this particular implementation, we have an additional compressor as well as bandwidth scheduling. So we'll put an efficient data profile onto the bandwidth that would go to the internet for public cloud targets. And then on top of that, we'll put limits. So for example, during the business day, cloud backups only get, 3 megabits. But at night or outside of business hours, you can have what the bandwidth can provide. So having options along the way can really help us go down this journey. And probably the last thing that's also important is a good handle on those costs. So bandwidth has a cost, but cloud storage has a cost also. So when we go down this route, it's going to be a little bit tough to, give an expectation of what our costs will be. And we have a built-in calculator that will actually report the usage of the cloud storage. So a lot of things to really answer those frequently addressed questions, but we're also taking an approach, technology-wise, that will really help people make this transition, if they want to, easily.
That's outstanding. So actually within the software, you're able to manipulate or schedule the bandwidth in order to control your costs and maximize the throughput when you need it?
Absolutely. And you can even put in limits that say, if I pass over $100 a month in cloud storage, stop. But most importantly, let me know about it. Things like that can really make sure that you can go about this journey correctly, because everybody's organizational requirements are different. And then when we apply that in a broad sense, we want to make sure that everyone goes about it in the best way, right? Because virtual environments, I think it's fair to say that no two VMware environments are the same, and I'd extend that to no two cloud storage requirements are the same. So, we have almost an unestimated number of different ways we can dial it up between what you send to the cloud, how frequently, which cloud, what compressor, what type of bandwidth limits, so there's a lot of different options. The knobs and dials are still there. So we want to make sure that people can go about it and meet their requirements.
Okay, that's awesome. I'm going to shift gears a little bit right here to ask for your help in another area, and that is going to be to explore the licensing options. Because there are different flavors for offering Cloud Edition, whether it's to existing customers or to new customers. So what are the best approaches for introducing Cloud Edition based on whether you're selling to an existing Veeam customer or whether you've uncovered a brand new Veeam opportunity?
Yeah, that's a good question, Don. So it's important to note that net new customers for the Cloud Edition of Veeam Backup and Replication, if they start wanting Cloud Edition and everything else that is Veeam, that's available as a subscription license. And I believe it starts at $649 US per CPU socket per year. Okay, now the sales process kicks in again next year because it would be per year, that same price, or if there's any change in pricing, which we haven't announced or anything, but that socket price per year would come up every year, which is different than initial upfront purchase and then approximately 20% maintenance, okay? Existing customers have a different option because they've already invested in the perpetual license. There's an upsell opportunity, and there's a couple of different scenarios based on when you upsell and when you buy, when you determine to upsell. But basically, net new customers are a subscription, and then there's a upsell opportunity for existing perpetual license customers. But in any situation, powerful, easy to use, and affordable applies to it. And chances are, if you have sold Veeam previously, we get a lot of positive feedback from our install base, and this is one of those next offerings that people have been asking for, and then also this is the right time to do it. So, to be honest with you, the subscription model is somewhat of a first attempt on our side to offer that model for procurement. But we're very curious to, how it responds in the market, obviously. And then secondly, for clients who may be, building their model around cloud storage, that's actually probably going to fit better anyways, simply because they're going to be expecting, costs over time for the infrastructure, and they could scale it up, scale it down as they need, as you can with cloud storage. So I'd love to put flexible in this option, right? Because as we are talking about cloud technologies, in particular cloud storage, it's a very flexible approach, but it does, have some differences from the sales side.
Exactly, and flexibility. I think that is a great word to kind of sum up Veeam Cloud Edition, because there's just flexibility throughout the product, flexibility in the licensing, and that's all good for our resellers. Rick, do you have any tips for how our great and loyal Veeam partners can maximize their profitability and grow their Veeam deals by offering Cloud Edition?
Well, simply, I'd offer it as an upsell to the existing customer base. A second strategy would also be to, identify some of your technical staff to get familiar with it. Through the Pro Partner Program, we have NFR keys available, or simply you can just download a trial at veeam.com. And if it's one of those things that, if you get to use something, your internal technical resources, this is easy to use, so it's not like it's going to take a week of training before they can even touch this product. I'll go so far as to say is maybe in a half an hour they'll get it figured out. And then that would build kind of that internal champion, that internal go-to person or persons. It's not, no limit on how many people you can, become familiar with this technology. And then from there, I think it could come up in a situational discussion. And it could be even something like, well, I don't really like tape, but I have to buy a tape drive to get data off-site. Well, there's your opportunity. You can just listen for those types of things. Or, the way the budget works here, I'm going to have to buy now and then buy more later. Well, why not the subscription model? Maybe that'll work better for your needs, right? Because here's the silver lining. The subscription model associated with Cloud Edition, you can actually buy and use it internal only. You don't have to use the cloud components because remember, it still comes with all the goodness that is Veeam Backup and Replication. So, you know, having some insight for some of those few points of where those opportunities might exist, that might be the way to kind of introduce the upsell or the new sell.
Excellent, very good. Now I know you're itching, Rick, to just show us a little bit of this. So if you would like, you can go ahead and share your desktop and give us a little peek.
Yeah, I think that would be good. I'm going to go ahead and share the application here, and I will show you how this works because it is pretty easy to use, but sometimes you don't actually get that sense of how easy it is until you see it in action. So at this point, you should see my screen. Now this is actually the Cloud Backup Console, right? So I'll start here. And actually some of that very important information is already displayed. And if you see my mouse here in this total overview, I've already spent $9.10 on Amazon storage. All right, now it's not too bad, but this is a demo environment. So, you know, I immediately see what I'm investing here with my cloud storage. I mentioned that it's a storage agnostic approach, both in, you know, the on-prem storage, hypervisor agnostic within VMware and Hyper-V, and now we also can have an agnostic approach within the cloud storage targets. And we have 19 different cloud storage engines here, right? The household names, Amazon and Azure, right up there at the top. But also OpenStack, if you've got a practice around that, maybe Rackspace, Google, some of the other big ones in the space. But maybe I've not heard of some of these other ones at the bottom. Nonetheless, the options are there, and they all really configure about the same. Simply put, the way cloud storage works, it uses, in this case, Amazon uses a token, much like a username and a password. But from there, I'm effectively onto this cloud storage resource, and I'm ready to go. Now, I mentioned that, in fact, that's probably the hardest part of cloud storage, is determining your access key and your secret key, okay? That's the hardest part, and then which bucket do you want to put it in? Buckets are loosely like folders. So I have a bucket called Cloud Edition, and then I actually do some home backups here with one of these. I don't remember which one. But nonetheless, I'll then select which geography I want the storage to go, right? In my particular instance, US Standard corresponds to, I think they used to call it US East. So that's in Virginia. Then I have two other, you know, options in North America, as well as Europe, Asia, Australia, and South America. So again, by geography, this also can, you know, address some of the bandwidth. Maybe if I have an office in Sao Paulo, it doesn't make sense to push my backups to, you know, to the Amazon cloud in California. Why not just go within that geography? And also, if you know, maybe you want to shop for price within Amazon, those are options too. You can also take the approach of going the archive route with Amazon, and that would be with Glacier, if you're familiar with that. Much like the other Amazon storage, S3, the simple storage service, it has a vault, which is the equivalent of a bucket there. And again, access key, secret key, and a friendly name, and right away, I'm using this storage. Now, I have Amazon. I keep it simple here. I've used Amazon storage for a long time myself, so I'm quite familiar with it. But what I do over here is I make a backup plan. Now, this backup plan takes my Veeam repository right here, which is this folder on the Z drive. This particular piece of hardware is a data domain, which I'm using for my Veeam backups. In fact, I have a backup running right now. Okay, so there's a backup that's running right now, and once these 3 virtual machines are backed up, what it's actually going to do is then immediately take them to the public storage cloud. So in Veeam Talk, it's very simple. I make my backup job just like I always do, find a VM, add it to a job, and you can take, you know, some good approaches, right? I could say I could back up VMs 1, 2, and 3, or I could take an approach of leveraging some of the infrastructure arrangements. That could be things like clusters, resource pools, folders, or even data stores. Good example is maybe I call my data store Tier 1 for virtual machines. Well, those might be the VMs that I want to back up. I can just flip that view, find a data store, I'll just say the tint tree here. I really like the tint tree. I've got 9 terabytes of VMs on there. That might be a little bit much to push to the cloud, but you get the point that I can use this as a container to identify which VMs go anywhere. I do still land the backups on disk first. So when we introduced this, we had to kind of explain people, still land on disk. So this is effectively a disk-to-cloud backup strategy. And that's important because you still want your backup window to stay small, again with the bandwidth. Now we will do compression and deduplication on our backups, which we've always done, which are configured by default here. But when we send stuff to the cloud, I mentioned that we compress it. We actually use a different compressor. So the compressor that we're going to use here for a backup job is different than the compressor we'd use to save bandwidth pushing to the cloud. The timing comes in. You want your backups kept small in terms of the backup window, and you want your backups in terms of pushing to the cloud efficient. So again, the intelligence is there. We kind of bury it, but just kind of highlighting that there's a lot of features available to you. And then what we do down here, this particular click right here, is where I'm actually running a post-job step to throw these backups to the cloud. And that actually is it. You know, we have it documented in the user guide and et cetera. But basically, once this VMware backup job is done, and it's going on right here, it's moving along, just as you see here in the VMware log, no problem there. But once that's done, it's actually going to automatically launch this backup plan, as it's called, in the separate console for cloud storage. I'm going to go ahead and launch it. There's nothing, actually there is one little file, but it took just the log file. It's going right now. So as I'm talking to you here, I'm actually sending data to Amazon Web Services, to the S3 cluster, and it's almost done. Now it was so quick because I'm only taking part of the log of the backup job. I'm not moving the whole thing. But let me show you some of the controls. Remember I said the bandwidth control. I'm in the middle of the day here. I'm in an office. I've actually set a rule to only use 2 megabits a second. Now I can actually put a schedule around it. I have one set here, but I'm not using it by default. Business day, 8 to 5, only use a certain amount of bandwidth. Otherwise, you know, you're free reign. Some options there. Good stuff. Now, that's good for small examples. I'll appreciate that. But what about, you know, bigger examples, bigger data profiles? It's very possible that, you know, if you have a large amount of data, it might be a little bit tough. Again, the bandwidth comes into play. So I'll give you one example. I did a backup of a Hyper-V VM, 50 gigs or so, with my 2 megabit limit. It did take me about 25 hours to get that uploaded. Actually, no, that's more like 36 hours to get that uploaded. But nonetheless, it has the legs to do it. In fact, I heard of a situation where I think there was a 300 gig file put up to the cloud. A couple of other options. I think there is a chunking option, so you can have it split to a specific size so that it doesn't, here it is, chunking right there. So again, the knobs and dials are there, but other than the bandwidth option, I'm using the defaults. All wizard driven, easy to use, simply put, just like this. I can make a backup to Amazon. I can give it a name. I'm always going to select the advanced option because I'm a nerd. I'm a geek, right? I like that kind of stuff. And once you select a file, I'm just going to take an interesting or just a simple file just to show the example. I'm going to drop in my encryption. Again, that's configurable, and that's kept locally and encrypted locally. And I can also drop in this little option to encrypt the file names for an additional protection technique in the cloud, in addition to the encrypted contents. And then also reduce redundancy storage in AWS Talk. This is an Amazon feature where you can get a small discount on their storage. Go through the wizard, and a couple other options. A couple of versions are kept in the cloud. That's a nice thing. In case you delete something, it's still there. So the wizard is built for ease of use, but very straightforward. Your technical teams will pick this up and just get it. And I'm convinced that it's that extra option that you can have in your arsenal as a joint Veeam and Lifeboat partner to provide these options to your clients. And you know, it becomes an automated solution for them. And the fact that after these backups are done, and this other one's almost done right now, I was trying to time it so that you could see this guy run right when the backup job is done. But the real important takeaway is it's going to close the loop for off-site storage for some people. Now, when it comes to larger environments, you know, this might not be the right solution. We position this as mid-market and below. You know, it doesn't have the legs for an enterprise solution. What is enterprise? What is mid-market? Well, that's up for debate. But your largest of clients, this might not have the legs in terms of moving petabytes to the cloud. This isn't really going to be the tool for that. So that being said, I hope that that kind of quick look into the cloud edition really helps you get a sense for the flexibility, right? Some of these I've still, you know, these are all new to me, but you see that pretty much every cloud storage option is there, and it's a flexible approach that you might be able to use in your practice. So hopefully that was beneficial, Don, as a quick demo to kind of see, you know, how this works.
Rick, that was terrific, and thank you for adding that to our presentation. We're almost done with my questions, and then we have some questions lining up in the chat window. But just before we get to those, I did want to ask you to complete the whole value proposition for our partners. Can you talk just a little bit about the resources that are available in the Veeam Pro Partner Portal and maybe from the Veeam sales team to help resellers with their Cloud Edition opportunities?
That's a good question. The Pro Partner Portal is a great starting place. And then from there, our sales teams that are dedicated to our partners should be able to answer any question you have. There are data sheets. There are, we've done internal webinars. We've done, I believe we have some configuration guides, and then we actually have a dedicated user guide that even goes through some specific configuration scenarios, including things like recovery in the cloud. All right, so that's kind of interesting. So the details are there, and of course the staff that are assigned to each of your territories are very familiar with all the different revenue plans, you know, the deal reg, all that stuff. They have the answers for you.
All right, thanks so much, Rick, for helping us to a clearer understanding of Veeam Cloud Edition and how we can help educate our customers on how to leverage the Veeam Cloud strategy. Are there any last few key points you would like to leave us with that will help us uncover real Veeam Cloud Edition opportunities?
Well, the main thing is, you know, powerful, easy to use and affordable, built for virtualization, modern data protection. So, you know, what is modern today for offsite storage? Is it still setting stuff to tape? Now, I know if you've been following Veeam, we're announcing tape, but is Cloud Edition an option? Is tape an option? Are both an option, right? So that's an option. Got to have options, flexible. Any way we go down it, just remember powerful, easy to use, and affordable.
Okay, perfect. So now we're going to get to some of the questions that have lined up here in the chat window. And I'm going to start with this one, which says, many customers feel uncomfortable going to the cloud because they are not aware where the data resides and who has access to it. Also, is there some type of private cloud option? So I'll let you address those 2 points.
That's a great question, Sam, and I appreciate you asking that one because that is usually our biggest kind of objection handling that we have to deal with. So the encryption is the first option. Now, where does it live in the cloud? I can tell you it's in Virginia. That's about it. That might not be good enough for some people, much less it's not my data center in Virginia. So I can appreciate that. So Sam, there are 2 other options within Cloud Edition. The first of which is what we call local file system option. So this is kind of an interesting technique. Basically, if you have 2 dissimilar storage systems, Cloud Edition can actually do this within those 2 dissimilar storage systems. So I'll just suppose I have a NetApp over here and I have an HP over there, storage systems. You know, they don't have replication engines between those 2 products. Well, Cloud Edition can pick up the Veeam backup files and put them over there for you. That's option 1. Option 2 is I can use OpenStack, which is an object-based storage approach, and I can put that on my own infrastructure. Okay, so OpenStack is a supported target as well with Cloud Edition. So I think, Sam, that there are options. Again, it doesn't have to be, you know, out to the public cloud. It can be my own local network and then something like OpenStack.
Okay, very good. Next question, are authorizations required to sell and or become a partner?
Well, you know, if you're on this call, you're already registered with Lifeboat, which is half the step, half of the journey. We do encourage you to be a Veeam Pro Partner, because then you have access to sell and then buy through distribution Veeam. So it is kind of a two-tier model, distribution and then you as a partner to sell. So I guess the answer to Daniel's question would be yes.
And I would just add to that that there is training available, whether you're looking to become a Veeam certified sales professional or whether you need technical certification. Those trainings are available, and your Lifeboat sales rep can direct you to exactly what you need to achieve either the sales or technical certifications. All right, next question. Do you back up disk level or bit level?
Well, that's a good question, Israr. The Cloud Edition, when we put it to a public cloud storage destination, and this is to your next question, Israr, as well. When we go to the public storage cloud, it is file level, okay? So we compress per file and push that to a public storage cloud with the chunking and the compression and encryption. When we back up the actual virtual machine, that is actually at the, it can be at the storage level. So it's always at the storage level, I should say. It's just, it can be directly on the storage network. So in that situation, we're looking at blocks and regions of the virtual disk, be it a VMware VMDK or Microsoft Hyper-V, VHD, or VHDX file. So the image-based backups that we do with the VMs are at the storage level, either reading the VMDK or accessing it over the storage network. And then when we push to the cloud, in this particular example, it is at the file level. So a little bit of nuts and bolts there, but our decisions on every step of the way are really to kind of take the right approach for that communication method. And simply put, you know, we don't have access to the storage network in the cloud. And conversely, picking up the VMDK as a file isn't necessarily the best way either, or an agent in a virtual machine. So we go about it the best way possible for every step of the way.
Okay.
And to his next question, do we back up physical servers? No. We actually only back up virtual machines, which probably matches everyone's growth rates, right? If you were to deploy 100 new systems within an environment, I'd bet 90+% of them today are virtual machines. So that's where we want to be, modern data protection, where, you know, where your growth rate is, where you have the most options. I mean, I haven't even talked about the other features that Veeam has, but, you know, there are things you can do on virtual machines specifically around data protection that simply aren't available in the physical world.
Okay. There's one more in this window, and then I have a couple of others. Do you sell it to public or end users or resellers only?
That's a good question. So we are channel focused and, you know, two-tier distribution model. So you will buy through Lifeboat and then sell to your clients. That's the preferred path. And you know, there are public sector pricing options and like nonprofit SKUs and stuff like that for those other situations.
I would just add to that that Veeam is 100% channel friendly. All of their business, you know, goes through resellers, so you never have to worry about, you know, a direct sale to an end user, whether you're dealing, particularly when you're dealing with Lifeboat distribution, but not in really any case at all. Okay, I'm looking in the chat window now, and I see an interesting question. It says, what is the restore like? I imagine that means restoring from the cloud.
Oh yeah, good question. So the restore with Cloud Edition can happen one of two ways. We can use the same wizard to bring everything back. That's fine. I can do that. Or there is, and we put it in the user guide, it's a little bit more complicated, but we can actually do a recovery in the cloud. So let me give you an example. I have a Exchange server, and I keep more in the cloud than I do on site. Okay, now that's very possible with Cloud Edition. So let's just say I keep 14 days on site, but I'm keeping 2 years in the cloud, for example. And I need an email message from 3 months ago. And I have it in the cloud, let's just say. I can actually open up the Veeam backup file in the cloud, and this applies to both Hyper-V or VMware, but I can open up that virtual machine backup we've taken, and I can use Veeam Explorer for Exchange and extract just that email and then get it back to me on site without having to transfer, say, a multi-gigabyte or even a terabyte back down to my site. So I can actually do recovery in the cloud, but it won't actually put it in the email server because it's not running in the cloud. I would actually have to have a compute instance to open it up, and then I would email it to myself through webmail, use Dropbox, or some other way. But once I can get to things in the cloud and then put them back on my site. But I could also use the restore wizard and bring everything back, which might take longer. But again, the primary function is off-site backup. So it's really protecting against a site disaster. And in that situation, we would have to bring everything back.
Okay, Rick, I'm going to give you one more question. There are others, but I'm going to give you one more for now and then give you a little break because I want to give away the $100 Amex gift card. But here's an interesting question. Is there a way to seed the cloud storage so the initial backup does not take days to upload?
Oh, it's a good question. So a seeding technique is not provided with this first release of Cloud Edition. So the answer is no in that situation.
Okay. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you'll give me just a moment here, it's time for me to give away a $100 Amex gift card. It's Lifeboat Distribution's way of saying thank you to you for your time and your attention, for being loyal Veeam and Lifeboat partners. We appreciate you being here for this webcast and really hope that you're getting quite a lot out of this today. And the winner for today's $100 Amex gift card is Michael Hartman from SHI. So congratulations, Michael. We will get you that gift card in short order. And thank you to everyone for being a part of the webcast today. I'm going to go back to more questions now. Now that we gave Rick a little break here. I think we answered that one. How does the end user validate the cost of his storage, or how does he validate that the cost of his storage is correct as his data grows at the storage location? How does the audit trail work?
Well, I would actually kind of go outside of the Cloud Edition discussion, and this actually leads to an upsell to the joint Veeam and Lifeboat partner, and that would be the Veeam Backup Management Suite. So we have real-time monitoring, reporting, and alerting and capacity planning for your virtual environment. But we also have specific intelligence to the backup infrastructure, how much storage is in use on-site, and then also some predictives to what I'm going to need in the future. Couple that with the reporting of cloud storage usage, I think you can actually get some really good insight to the storage requirements for the backup infrastructure as well as the virtual machine infrastructure itself. So there's an upsell opportunity to the Backup Management Suite.
Okay. Well, Rick, if you ever run into Eli from Veeam, let him know that he's got a fan out there. And Mike, if you're on the line, one of your customers is giving you a shout out too. So thank you, April. We appreciate that. Let's see, what do we have here yet to answer? see. I think we just about covered it. I will go through all of the questions, folks, and if there's something that I missed, I will reach out to Rick with your question, and I will make sure that you all get a copy of that answer. And we will send out the presentation to everybody who attended today. I'll also remind you that this webinar has been recorded, and we will share the link to the recording as soon as that is posted. So I just want to do a quick call to action at this point. These are the things that we recommend for you as a reseller to get more information, education, or to get help for any of your present deals. It starts with visiting the Veeam website. We do encourage you to do that, where you can find a wealth of information, whether it's product information, white papers, information on the Veeam Pro Partner Program, and there are a ton of free virtualization resources available to you there. If you need to be signed up as a Veeam Pro Partner, please contact your Lifeboat sales rep, or I have a link displayed here. It's pretty long. You might not be able to jot all that down right now, but we are more than happy to assist in getting you signed up as a Veeam Pro Partner, and your Lifeboat rep will do that for you happily. Also at Lifeboat Distribution, we're always happy to schedule deep dive demos for you. If you want to see more about what Rick showed earlier, feel free to call your Lifeboat rep. We work really, really super closely with the Veeam sales team. We can easily get demos set up for you when you need them. We'll help you with any opportunity, whether that's with pricing or pre-sales assistance. And one last note, Lifeboat is holding its West Coast Partner Summit in Las Vegas next week on Thursday the 16th. There is still time to register for it. I think we still may have a few free rooms available. It's at Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas. So if you like what you heard and saw today, go to Las Vegas, see Veeam in person. Veeam is one of our marquee sponsors. They have a speaking spot at the event, and you can learn tons more if you have the opportunity to get out there for that. All right. Rick, I think that we are just about through here. You were incredible today. Thank you so much for doing this for us. For anyone who would like to stay in contact with Rick, you can check him out at his Twitter account. That's one way to follow him. Is there anything you want to just say to wrap it up, Rick?
Well, mainly it's Veeam.com. That's your starting place for everything. And then you can find us on Twitter at Veeam. I'm a tweet guy. I love to tweet. So that's a great place to throw out little questions, right? You know, well, I'll just not in a hurry, throw it out. I'll give you an answer. You know, Veeam.com, the Pro Partner Portal there, you know, would love to do business with you. All right.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for all your time today. We appreciate your business. We appreciate your attention. So for now, for everyone at Veeam and at Lifeboat Distribution, I say thank you, have a great day, and we hope to hear from you soon. Bye now, everybody.